Let's take a look and see what we've got here. And this is from Ryan Kennedy. And he says, I'm wondering, with the Diaz and Altuve injury, if the World Baseball Classic might be in future jeopardy as far as the level of talent competing.
No, not at all. I think it's a future marketing gem. It's a bonanza. Just has to be scheduled, Ryan, in the right time frame. And I think that's at the All-Star break. And you expand the time off at the All-Star break, which would be great for everybody's roster because everybody will take a deep breath and kind of recharge their battery, and the stars will come play. And if you just do it the way I structured it, because I am Bleepin Brilliant, if you just run 4 teams in there and they play each other, and then you play a championship game on Friday, you do the All-Star game on Sunday night, I think it'd be a bonanza for baseball globally. It would sell the game. I mean, can you imagine Team USA Mexico? Can you imagine Japan, Pacific Rim, Korea, Taiwan versus Latin America, which would be Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, where baseball is your soul, Colombia, Venezuela. That's the way I think to structure it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a terrific opportunity. This could be like another World Cup. And it is kind of a farce how we call it the World Series, right? And it's really not a World Series. This is, and that's what makes the WBC so great. And it's great to see these players take such pride in how they're playing. But doesn't it seem to you like the American team is the only team that's really not having fun?
They're working hard at it. Yeah, there's a lot more emotion, I think, abroad. I think, I've been in the Tokyo Dome, and that place is electric, and the fans just buy into it, and that impacts the game. And obviously, what we've seen in Miami is it's like a summer samba. It's like Mardi Gras. It's just so cool. And I covered the 2017 WBC games here at Petco Park. And I was very impressed with the turnout, and there's the unique electricity through there. So I hope they'll reconfigure it there. Next question.
Moving on. All right. So this is a question from Body by Billy. He says, you think San Diego State has a legit chance to upset the country this week versus Bama? Defensively, they need to be on point.
Well, defensively, they'll give it everything they've got. But the Aztecs bigs, led by Nathan Mensah and Jaden Ledee, have never played anybody with the bigs that Alabama has. And Alabama goes 7 foot, 6'10", 6'9" across the front line. And they have the player of the year in college basketball in Brandon Miller. And they have a really productive young point guard. This will be hard. But you know what? The way you play the day you play changes the game. There'd be a huge challenge with the referees. Are you going to start calling fouls? Because they've let these teams bang on each other and play. But you got 2 teams of bigs that I have no doubt are going to bang on each other. Is there a chance? Yeah, anything is possible, especially if your big men get in foul trouble. But anything is possible that this could be really bad if San Diego State's big men get in foul trouble. We'll talk more about that on Thursday.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for the Aztecs. And then, if you want to just think a little bit long term, if they're able to get over the hump on Alabama, who's waiting for them? Probably Creighton. So that would be an opportunity to kind of get a little revenge from last year. But yeah, Alabama's going to be tough. They have one of the top 5 defenses as well. So I think defensively we'll hold our mark. The question is if we'll be able to score.
Yeah. And of course, you got UCLA Gonzaga, which bears watching. That will be a fun game for supremacy on the West Coast. And then you got Arkansas, UConn, which will be frantic and take no prisoner basketball. So we'll preview all that come Thursday.
Okay, so let's move on. We've got some good YouTube comments. This is from REM, from Rem. He says, he's talking about the Austin Ekeler potentially being traded. You guys are forgetting what happened in the second half meltdown against the Jags. They couldn't run the ball to save their lives. They need to get away from these midget backs. Trade for Henry or draft Robinson from Texas University.
Well, I like the running back from the Texas Longhorns because that's big body, long strider. Problem is he's maybe a top 15 to top 10 choice. What kind of price do you have to pay to trade from 23 to trade up to get access to get him? Running backs are not valued as much anymore in the National Football League, at least in this current day and age. You make the phone call and you find out. But if they come back and say, John, you want Robinson from Texas? Give me your 1, give me your 2. Can't do that. That's too steep a price to pay. The other thing is, do you have enough offensive linemen that actually run block really well? Or is there a psyche with the Chargers that everything is pass block to protect Justin Herbert. And you got to play to the strength, and the strength is the rifle arm quarterback. There's nothing wrong with Ekeler. Ekeler has been unbelievably productive. You know, he's got 7,700 yards, all-purpose yards, and all those touchdowns in about a 5.5-year span, playing behind a really poor offensive line. This is not Eckler's fault. Ekeler needs to be compensated, needs to be taken care of. And if they trade him away, they're chopping out a piece of the heart of the roster. They're taking away a huge chunk of that offense. I hope they don't do it. I hope they're not stupid. But those are the guys that have authored the words chargering.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how they're going to make the math work and how you get all these guys under the cap, but I guess we'll find out soon. Got another football question here.
Fire away.
Fire away. So this is talking about the NFL free agent defections. And this Philly fan jumped in and he had something to say. His name's Raymond Fields. He says, the Eagles have absolutely not been decimated by departures. Replacing Edwards with Dean was planned. They had another backer. Hargrave will be replaced by Melton Williams. Williams' numbers first 2 years of his career are better than Hargrave's first 2 years. Joseph and Sue were mid-season signings that will have similar type players available. They also knew they were losing Isaac and kicking Jurgens over. Eagles are in great shape.
Philadelphia Ray, you could argue with me, but I think it'd be wrong. Hargrove was a difference maker, you know, and they re-signed Fletcher Cox, deservedly so. And obviously they still have the young kid from Alabama, Jordan Davis. I hope as a second-year guy is going to take a step forward. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of guys that have now been scratched off that roster on the defensive side of the football. And as a group, collectively, that was a pretty good defense because they all contributed. They all made different plays. We'll find out what kind of damage has been done here. But, boy, I was amazed at how many guys have gotten away from Philadelphia. But much like I said, how many guys got away from Kansas City, how many guys left the San Francisco 49ers. Harry Roseman's done a good job. He's built that thing. But, boy, I just don't think – I mean, Hargrove, I think, was a key component of toughness in that wide-body defensive front.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles, yeah, they won the championship. It's interesting to see these guys leave. Another YouTube commenter mentioned that he thinks the Niners have as many as 12 defections now. So these teams are scrambling for talent.
Well, San Francisco they've got a different philosophy under the general manager, John Lynch. They've rented a lot of veterans, and then those guys leave, and they don't replace them. They're drafting young guys. And what they do is guys leave, and if you don't sign a bunch of free agents to replace your defecting free agents, you get draft pick compensation. San Francisco was just given 7 comp draft picks.
Wow.
For all the guys they lost last offseason. So that's 7 additional picks, a whole pile of them at the end of the third round. You can find players in the 3rd and 4th and 5th rounds who are real good players. So San Francisco is operating a little bit different philosophy of we'll use them, we'll rent them. If they leave, we'll stockpile more free agents in the front door, but we're going to get draft pick compensation for these guys who go other places. It's an interesting way of doing business. Have never heard that enunciated by any other general manager about, hey, maybe this might be the way to do it.
Well, let's go on here. I mean, there's a lot of excitement here still for the Aztecs. This is from Lisa Cruz, and I think she must have written this before the games this week. Aztecs are going to reach the Sweet 16 by beating Charleston and Furman, and then we become giant killers when we beat Alabama to reach the Elite 8. Go Aztecs, positive vibrations.
Nothing wrong with being positive. I'm a little bit of realist here along the way too, but think about Brian Dutcher, what he's done. His career record at San Diego State is 148-46. Obviously, all the things they've done in the regular season, the Mountain West is now augmented by their back-to-back victories this week. They really sending a message to the country. We're big. We play tough defense. We run the floor. I think there's intangible things that nobody talks about, not in San Diego, and obviously nobody at the network level because they're not paying attention to these guys. Good coach, good program, good players, good student athletes. They don't get guys in trouble, and they're getting guys graduated. You know, I spent time with Nathan Mensah as the season started. He's a graduate student. He's graduating with only 1 year, within 1 year window to get his master's degree. You know, these are kids whose focus is university, academics, playing basketball and doing well, and then going on to do something next, whether that next is trying to make the NBA or going abroad to play in Europe or going into the business world. It's just a really unique collection of kids that Dutcher has put in place, and prior to that, what Steve Fisher did. It's, you can take a ton of transfers, but doesn't mean it's all going to work. And you got to be very careful with transfers because some of them are bad citizens, and there's reasons guys have been at 3 schools and suddenly show up on your campus. A prime example is what happened up in Laramie at Wyoming. They got 3 transfers from the Pac-12. They thought were going to be players. And Wyoming's done a good job. It's a tough place because it's so remote, and I don't think they have the NIL type money. And they came in, and that new coach who had come in there a year ago did a good job, then had to replace guys who left. He went and got 3 Pac-12 transfers, and they all turned out to be, quote, questionable characters. He booted them off the team at midseason. So you got to be very careful. That's not been a problem with San Diego State. That's a good coach they've gotten, a good leader.
Yeah, and they recruit a certain type of athlete. They go for high character guys. They go for gym rats. They go for guys that believe in the program, doing the work, that are willing to give up a little bit of their ego in order to win the game. And that's special. And it's a unique strategy that Dutcher and his team have put together. But talking about these high character guys, how about Agueka Rope? That kid is not only, been battling through all of his injuries. He just recently got his citizenship in the United States. He's probably not going to play basketball after, this tournament is over. But that's a guy that, if you're a company, an HR manager in a company, you're recruiting talented young guys, that's a guy you want to hire because he's got the drive, the discipline, and he's got the right frame of mind to be successful.
He's special. I think he's the most underrated player I may have seen in the history of modern day Aztec basketball. You look at his contributions and the role he has and what he's accomplished and how he's changed games. That's a special kid.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about somebody that's going to win the Naismith Award, but we're talking about a guy that's a key contributor that changes the chemistry of games when they've said, go do this or go do that. I need you to back up this guy. Phenomenal story, really is. And so you take guys like Arup and you add in who Mensah is as a person, not just as a player. It's just fascinating to me. Hey, listen, hope you've enjoyed our bonus podcast. We're here most every Monday. Our regular podcast is on Thursday. Please subscribe so you'll get all the alerts when we're coming back in with all the new stuff that we make available on our YouTube channel. And